Hello, dear friends. My name is Sofia Durinskaya. I am a doctor and the head of the Center for Medical Information. Today, we will talk about autophagy, about this Nobel Prize, and about intermittent fasting. And I will try to convey my point to you. Let's first figure out, from open sources, what Yoshinori Ohsumi received the Nobel Prize for. The Nobel Committee's press release states that Ohsumi's discovery led to a new paradigm in our understanding of how the cell recycles its contents. His discovery paved the way for understanding the fundamental importance of autophagy for many physiological processes, such as adaptation to starvation and response to infection. Autophagy is how cells dispose of and recycle unnecessary parts and accumulated waste. The term that named the process comes from two Greek words meaning self-eating or self-devouring. Scientists discovered that this phenomenon exists back in the 1960s, which is understandable, but they couldn't figure out the details of the mechanism. In the 1990s, Ohsumi did. While conducting his experiments, he also identified the genes responsible for autophagy. Actually, genes determine nearly all processes in the body. Nearly 25 years later, Novigrada found its 39th hero, though what he discovered remains unclear. Autophagy is inherent to living organisms. Thanks to it, cells get rid of unnecessary parts. That's obvious anyway. Nature has given cells the remarkable ability to digest unnecessary or harmful material. Listen, Protogenia, our immunity devours Protogenia. External cells, like bacteria, for example, our immunity destroys cancer cells that appear, that have divided defectively. We have two types of cells in our bones, osteoclasts and osteoblasts. So, osteoclasts are the cells that devour our own bone tissue, and osteoblasts are the cells that build up this bone tissue. So basically, the process of autophagy is absolutely natural for humans. What concerns me is that this comrade, Yoshinori Ohsumi, attributed this completely natural process to himself and the conclusions that are drawn based on his work. It seems that for preventive purposes, it's sometimes worth fasting, putting your body into what turns out to be a healthy kind of stress. So once again we have, they've found some study again that tells people not to eat. That's what should make you wary. Because the process of autophagy is always happening. A person is born, this process begins. A person dies, this process stops. It's like breathing, a heartbeat, digestion, or nerve impulses. This process is always ongoing. The process of autophagy, it's natural for a human being. In this case, what concerns me is that they somehow described something about this process and justified a person's fasting or hunger strikes. Actually, this is natural. Because when you don't give your body nutrition, it naturally goes into a stressful situation. The sympathoadrenal regulation is activated, and the body throws all its resources into to activate its processes. Naturally, when you don't feed your body, the products of cellular activity and the products of cellular breakdown accumulate. Instead of being eliminated in the usual way through urine, feces, or breathing as certain toxic substances, the body starts to use them. Well, obviously, when you have plenty of meat on a pie, for example, and onions, you're not going to put bones in there. If you're on a tight budget and have little meat, you'll scrape off every bit of sinew, just like people did during times of hunger, taking every membrane from the bones. That's only natural, because when you don't have much, you start using all sorts of scraps for food. Continued. But I have a question. Is this really a complete diet? I just have to ask, why do this at all? Why would you deliberately put your body in this situation? It would eliminate all these waste products, get all the essential nutrients from food, and live a healthy, regular life. Because for the body, the most important thing is predictability. We've already talked about this. For the body, the most important thing is the absence of these sudden stresses. When the body receives a lot of high-quality nutrition, a little bit of stress, it doesn't bring it to a ruined state. It can easily handle it. But, excuse me, when does this become a practice? We have dealt with people who came to us after intermittent fasting. Listen, I haven't seen such wrecks in a long time. It takes a huge effort to pull someone out of that pit after intermittent fasting. The gastrointestinal tract is destroyed, and the digestive processes are completely distorted. There's constant pain there. The liver is always affected. It's already out of balance. And there are so many problems a person faces after this intermittent fasting. The main thing is why? I just can't understand. Are you stingy with food for a person or what? Or what is it? It seems like all of this is done just to justify the incompetent, clueless governments that can't provide their people with meat. With abundant quality meat, people can live peacefully, eat, and enjoy life. Because the process of autophagy is completely natural, it's always present, and there's nothing supernatural about it. The fact that this is genetically determined is obvious, because the process has to exist somewhere. This program is encoded. It's written in the genes. So what is the greatness of this discovery? Other than the fact that it was linked to the idea of fasting again, I just don't understand that. And then, what can we do here? That's what I said. Sometimes, thanks to autophagy, a cell can make up for the lack of nutrients and energy and return to normal life. So it can actually make up for the deficiency. So we need to create a deficiency first, but why? But why create a deficiency of nutrients for it? Let it have enough nutrients. It will naturally eliminate its waste products, defective cells, and so on. And then, let's tell the manufacturers of zoledronic acid. Zoledronic is a substance that inhibits osteoclasts, as I already mentioned, the cells in the bones that cause the destruction of bone tissue, in the hope that osteoporosis or some restorative processes in the bone will be activated. But the manufacturers of zoledronic acid, for example, do not want them to be activated. The processes of autophagy, you see. Of course, that's not a great solution either, because the side effects of this zoledronic acid are terrible, just terrible. There is such a delayed effect on the immune system. It's just a disaster, you know? But what's so great about this discovery, besides the fact that they once again linked it to people needing to fast? If anyone has any ideas to tell me, like, oh, Durinskaya is sitting here. Of course, there's a Nobel laureate. And here she is telling something to herself. Well, excuse me. They gave a Nobel Prize for lobotomy. No one wants to go for a very useful lobotomy operation. Oh, the plague, also a Nobel Prize, also was considered a great discovery. Their Nobel Prize for this barbarism hasn't been revoked. The plague, you don't want it either. Well, here he is, please. So here, once again, they told us how we shouldn't eat anything and how wonderful it all looks. There, they messed with our brains and gave a Nobel Prize for it. And here, well, the Karolinska Institute, which awards Nobel Prizes in medicine, told us about vitamin C in humans, kidney stones form. In general, for things like this, people should be fired and stripped of their diplomas because they deliberately attached a dog's physiology to a human's physiology and changed it. So, you have to think, just because someone was given something there doesn't make it a fact. Because you see, we have practice, And people come to us after intermittent fasting. Oh my goodness, God forbid, God forbid. Because they're in such a ruined state, their health is so broken, and the process of autophagy is always happening in your body. Don't worry, you can't force your body in any way. It will work in its own mode. All you can do for your body is to give it enough nutrients so it can function properly. It will do everything else without you. Nature is not any less smart than we are. And there are no malfunctions in the body as long as you give it everything it needs. I hope I answered your question about autophagy. Thank you for your attention. Come for tests and to address deficiencies if you need it. We will be happy to help.